This has been a difficult little one to keep a lid on, but for the last little while we've been playing Penny's Big Breakaway.
This one comes from Evening Star, the same team that bought us Sonic Mania.
And my goodness, it's not a difficult one, even though this is sponsored, to say this is an incredibly fun game. We're going to go over absolutely everything you need to know about the game. Why exactly am I so excited about Penny's Big Breakaway? Well, my name's Mark Walker. Welcome back to SwitchUp. Now, let's find out. First up, we've got the price. Well, this one's going to retail at £24.99, or your regional equivalent that you can see on the screen. And it's releasing for Switch, Steam, PS5, Xbox X and S. Without spoiling anything, the narrative sees you playing as Penny, who is accused of various heinous crimes, like causing chaos in the auditorium. The king gets in a rage, orders his guards to capture you and sentences you to 10,000 years in jail. Oh, and the guards are penguins. The big breakaway in the title is obviously referencing her escape, as she does everything in her power to avoid those pesky penguins, more on those later, and uses an array of skills and her trusty little yo-yo to avoid them. Now, gameplay is very interesting. As you'd expect from a team that previously worked on Sonic Mania, there's something quite intangible here, something that maybe we expected to see in previous new games, but which I personally haven't experienced since sitting down on my Mega Drive. Penny's Big Breakaway has a character of its own, a freshness to some of the mechanics that, for me at least, has been lost in so many other games. Now, you control Penny simply enough. You move with the left stick, and you can actually control her yo-yo independently with the right. Right off the bat, you've got two control methods. You can either have the simple method or the pro controls. So the pro controls have a number of extra buttons. You can use your bumpers for things like jumping, the triggers to ride on the yo-yo if pressed mid-air, and you'll use the right analog stick to launch the yo-yo in the direction you choose. There are also a load of different button combinations, like being able to quick dash by double tapping the right stick, perform things like ledge grabs and wall jumps, and a bunch of other moves. Whereas a younger child might want to use the simplified controls, which keep the core functionality and will make it a much easier experience to just pick up and play. With that said though, the rest of this video is going to be pro controls. They're really not difficult and they offer you a lot of different options. The way the game's laid out, you've got your main campaign, and then you've also got a time trial. The developers have clearly catered for people that enjoy things like speedrunning. There are lots of shortcuts. The way you use those pro controls will determine the speed at which you move, and that time trial gives a lot of scope for replayability. Now, the main game is split into a traditional set of levels with a main area and then that divided into its own specific stages. Now, before you even get into a level, or at least after you've done one, you'll have gained some currency, and you can spend that in the bonus shop. From there, you can pick up some really useful items that will modify the next run, from making it easier to fend off the penguins to improving your score when you reach that end of level area. And that's something I think you're going to find really interesting because it shows the Sonic roots. And I've been asking for something like this in a game since releasing all those fluffy animals way back in the day. On the face of it, things are quite simplistic. You're moving from one side of the stage to the other. However, there are a few little surprises along the way. First and foremost, your yo-yo. Now, if you hold a trigger, you can actually charge up a yo-yo dash, steering this using the left stick. There's a momentum and physics model here that gives that a certain weight, but also it requires a skill to control it. The stages are designed in such a way that using your yo-yo can certainly increase the speed at which you can move through them, but at other times it is borderline essential. Trying to avoid colossal spherical masses of penguins who are hell-bent on crushing you is definitely easier when you're riding on that yo-yo, because as I mentioned, it is physics-based. You won't want to be doing that when you're up a slope. There's a targeting system at play here as well. You can see these targets appearing on certain items, and if I press Y, then I'm going to hit in that direction. That's the auto aim side of things, whereas using the right analog stick I can place that wherever I want. There are also some zip lines in the world. You can fire your yo-yo to these, and these act as transitions between the different areas. Now, those penguins, as mentioned, will constantly appear and will be trying to take you down. That is to say, if a certain number of them manage to pin you, you'll actually be captured and have to go back to the last checkpoint. Checkpoints look well, a bit like this, and you've got a set number of lives which are shown down here in the corner. However, if you do lose all of those, you can actually restart from the checkpoint. You don't go all the way back to the start of the game, and trust me on this one, that is a good thing, because Penny's Big Breakaway is not a walk in the park. This is a challenging platformer. Sure, the penguins will give you a bit of nuisance, and by swinging that right stick around, you can actually create almost a tornado with your yo-yo, performing in around the world and sending them flying in all directions, but they are relentless. Now, thankfully, they're not the most acrobatic of creatures, so they're quite easy to lose, and there are certain power-ups which make things much easier, as again we'll go into. But your yo-yo also offers a couple of other skills for keeping things at bay. Moves like the classic walk the dog, and then you'll combine those with the power-ups that you find. Now, these are great. It might be a hammer that's laying around in the stage, which then obviously allows you to smash different items, break down walls, and give those pesky penguins a headache, or another that turns you into the penny equivalent of a wrecking ball. Something I really didn't expect to see within this game were the many side quests within each stage. Yeah, that's right, there are side missions and quests, like taking an alarm clock to wake up a lazy worker. These will give you various different rewards, but they really mix up the pace and they change your expectations of what it is you're actually playing here. This feels like something fresh. Now, those side quests range from various different things and they are entirely optional. Sometimes they're speed-based. It might see you dashing down a hill, trying to collect all the different items for someone's wife. And as well as these, there are also hidden things that are off the beaten path. Now, I did mention that the stage layouts are varied, and it's almost always the case that you'll be able to reach B by going from A to C to D and then eventually back to B. It's rare that you'll arrive at the very end of a stage and not have seen a few different routes that you could have taken. Whether or not they'll offer you secrets or the only way to find out is to go back and try again. But it's also another element that those speedrunners are really going to be looking into. To make traversal a little easier, it's not just riding on your yo-yo or spinning it around to hit those penguins. Penny can also launch it to do a mid-air dash that kind of projects her forwards. She can also do the aforementioned ledge grab to help her get up if you're just going to fall off, and she can place it in mid-air and use it to swing from. And as well as those very cool zip lines, there are things like screws that you can use your yo-yo to spin and raise up and down, various different platforms to jump from, the obligatory springboards, and these little spinners that will send you launching off at speed. They really have captured that sense of momentum that you want from this type of game. Now, at the end of a stage, this is what I was talking about before. There's a platform that once you jump on, you get to take part in the busker bonus. This is like a on-screen mini game that will boost the amount of reward you get, and it's just fun, even if I'm not very good at it. There are several other things and secrets to find in this one, from potential boss encounters, which I definitely don't want to spoil, to some absolutely bonkers mechanics that will put a big old smile on your face. Let's jump over to visuals and performance then. While the Nintendo Switch version is running at 30 frames per second, and it seems to be able to maintain that frame rate, visually it's a very interesting artistic style. They've certainly not gone the easy route of making it look like most other 3D platformers. It has a hybrid low poly style with some real detail thrown in. There's also a physics model that controls the movement of your yo-yo when you're riding on it, and a lot of little details thrown in. I think I finally understand that old saying of an earworm, because Penny's Big Breakaway has some incredibly catchy tunes. Now, thankfully, these do change between areas, and also certain instances will see that drastically shift to reflect what's going on screen. But yeah, it has some catchy tracks, that's for sure. I think things like artistic direction are very much personal preference, and I wasn't entirely sure before I'd played the game how this style would work, but it very much fits that quirky, but also a little unusual character that they've created here in Penny. The yo-yo isn't a gimmick, it's intrinsic to every part of the gameplay, and the fact that it's actually a challenging experience while being fair enough to let me keep going from the last checkpoint is definitely something that I was happy about. Yeah, we were very, very happy to have been selected to cover this one, I've got to be honest. It's a massive honor for us. The fact that it came from the team that created Sonic Mania and that it actually lives up to that status, we couldn't be more happy about. Let us know down in the comments any questions, things that we've missed, but do go check out the game. There'll be links in the description and the top pinned comment, and when you click those, it shows them that, yeah, you chose a good place in SwitchUp. So yeah, thanks so much to all of you. Thanks to our Patreons and our members and all of you that enjoy the content. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it SwitchUp. Cheers, guys. See ya!